This is Coach Lee, and you're listening to The Door Report.
Welcome back into The Door Report, and welcome into episode 349 on a lovely Tuesday evening, January 13th, 2026. I'm Will Byrum, joined as always by my co-host Trevor Hulan, aka Hack Squat. Jim Duggan. Here at The Door Report, we are presented by 615 Collectibles. If you're into sports cards or sports memorabilia, check out 615 Collectibles on eBay. Items include NFL team packs, individual cards, and more. Shipping is always fast and free. You can guess what is up next. Rhoback Activewear. There is only one way to describe Rhoback. Best fit, best feel. For those who aren't familiar with Rhoback, they are completely changing the game with their incredibly comfortable activewear. Rhoback has released so many items within their newly licensed game day collection, and it's our favorite. With novel polo designs and clean hoodie and quarter zip designs for some of your favorite schools, it's definitely worth checking out. Nobody else in the market is pairing these levels of custom designs with this quality of activewear. Rhoback's everyday shorts or their Delta performance pants are the perfect pairing as well. They are both super comfortable, have an elastic waistband, and great fabric that is made to have the appearance of a nice short look, but the comfort for a day on the move. Rhoback has also been proudly leading the NIL charge, having signed partnerships with multiple college football stars, both past and present, and are becoming the go-to brand for college athletes across the country. You can use code VAN20, that is VAN20, all capitals, no spaces, on Rhoback.com for a generous 20% off for all new customers. That's spelled Rhoback, RHOBACK.com. That's 20% off all performance polos, shorts, and more with code VAN20. Last but not least, the NIL store. Check out the NIL store and get some of the latest and best merch from your favorite Vanderbilt athletes at nil.store/doorreport15 and use code doorreport15 at checkout, all capital letters, no spaces, for 15% off of your order. Go get some college basketball merch. You got Tyler Tanner, A.K.O. Karaki, Tyler Nichols, some more players across this very talented Vanderbilt basketball roster. So check them out at nil.store/doorreport15. Trevor, time to dive into this episode. We have, number one, the transfer portal to talk about. We talked about that last episode in depth with our very own Vanderbilt insider, Alex Kerbegon. And most of the activity, specifically outgoing, we recapped last episode. We'll do a brief recap of that in segment one. Most of what we're going to be talking about on this segment about the transfer portal is guys coming in, so positives on the Vanderbilt roster front. And then in segment two, we will be talking Vanderbilt hoops. The Commodores are still undefeated, so a lot to get to here on episode 349. Trevor, how are you feeling? What's the vibe check right now? I know it's two sports kind of crossing over, but how are you feeling?
Vibe check. I feel like I've been at a 10 out of 10 since the start of the football season. I'm glad that has not wavered. I continue to be at a 10 out of 10. I love what I'm seeing out of this Vanderbilt men's basketball team. I really like what I'm seeing thus far out of the portal from the Vanderbilt football staff. Still some pieces that need to be addressed, but for the players that we're going to be addressing today, I really, really like the acquisitions. So 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10 still.
I mean, it's hard not to be.
Men's basketball is hooping. Women's basketball is hooping. 33-0 combined. I don't know why you're giggling over there.
Because Miller just gave a little finger gun at us as he sits on the couch and watches us.
Yeah, our producer that lasted 2 episodes. Now he's just staring at us while we record.
Assistant to the producer. As our producer.
Assistant to the producer.
As our producer right now sits under Miller. She's also watching basketball.
But we are going to really dive into, because the transfer, we're not going to, let me rephrase that. We're not going to fully dive in to grading this transfer portal class or fully diving into anything, because it's still open for the next 3 days. So the portal window for the NCAA for college football does not close until January 16th, and there's still a chance we see some action in that portal. So not quite time for grades, but we can definitely dive into some of these additions that we've seen. which there's a lot of additions to get to. That's just going to be the nature of college football
Yeah.
until something changes, which I don't see anything changing on that aspect. But before we get into all, and we have a ton of premium message board questions to get to.
Hell yeah.
So and it's a lot about transfer portal, a lot about those guys. So if we don't answer something in segment 1, it will likely be answered at the end of the episode during premium message board questions. But before we get into all that and more, we are now a part of the On3 Publisher Network. Visit thedoreport.com today and subscribe to a monthly or annual premium membership and support TDR for access to premium content, as well as our premium message board behind closed doors. Also, don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at The Door Report, like us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Emphasis on subscribe to our YouTube channel. Our podcast is available on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and Google Podcasts. And while you're at it, give our podcast 5 stars and a review on iTunes or Spotify. It's now time for segment 1.
Bad actors attempted to destabilize our position. Therefore, we responded with a decisive counteraction to regain control of the situation. We will stand steadfast and resolute during these times of adversity.
Welcome back, and episode 349 of The Door Report, and welcome into segment 1. It is time to dive into the latest Vanderbilt football transfer portal activity, as that is the current situation, or whatever you want to call it, that is dominating storylines. And in some ways, unfortunately, I think this singular transfer portal window, and we all know that football is king, but it's kind of overshadowing basketball in a lot of ways right now, because it's just this 14-day window that you're literally reshaping the landscape of college football. So it's got a lot of eyes on it. So we're going to start out with it on segment 1. So I'm going to quickly recap, just because some people aren't sickos like me with an Excel spreadsheet tracking this. Going to quickly recap who has entered the transfer portal from Vanderbilt's football roster. So quarterback Drew Dickey has entered the portal. He has officially committed to Arkansas State, joining Vanderbilt's former quarterback coach, as well as former Tennessee head football coach Butch Jones at Arkansas State. Quarterback Jeremy St. Hilaire also has committed to Arkansas State. So Butch Jones is collecting Vanderbilt backup quarterbacks like infinity stones. Running back A.J. Newberry has entered the portal. Running back Chase Gillespie. Wide receiver Trey Richardson. He is committed to Louisville. Big loss for Vanderbilt on the outside, probably the biggest loss of the transfer portal cycle so far. Wide receiver Boski Barrett, wide receiver Chance Fitzgerald, tight end Whit Edwards, offensive lineman Misal Sandoval. Misal Sandoval is committed to Ball State. Offensive lineman Cooper Starks, he is committed to South Dakota State. Defensive lineman Terry, how do you pronounce it? Terry Nwezbizu?
I just say Terry Azila.
Terry is.
I don't even try with the hyphenated portion.
Yeah, I was going to mess that up, even though he was a Vanderbilt player. So he has entered the transfer portal. Defensive end / edge Linus Zunk has entered and committed to Washington State. Outside linebacker Jalen Ruth had entered the transfer portal, but he has withdrawn his name from the portal and will be returning to Vanderbilt. I think a big get back or return for Vanderbilt, a guy that you thought was lost to the portal, specifically because of the next guy that I'm going to bring up, which is star / outside linebacker Randon Fontenette. He is officially committed to Colorado and will join Deion Sanders in Colorado in Boulder. And cornerback Trudell Berry has entered the transfer portal. So that is the exhaustive list of players that have entered the portal. How are you feeling about the departures so far, Trevor?
I gave a hot take. I forget where I gave it. I love Randon Fontenette. I thought he was a key contributor on defense. Just because we've sort of talked about Trey Richardson ad nauseum, I'm not going to include him. But Randon Fontenette, obviously a loss. I'm not one of these people that thinks it's like a huge, devastating loss. To be frank, I thought this year he. Regressed is a rough word. Got taken off the line of scrimmage, couldn't tackle, couldn't play in space. Sometimes was a liability in coverage. Would I have liked to have him back? Of course I would have liked to have him back because I love Randon Fontenette. But that's not as big of a loss as I personally thought people were making it out to be. Right now with the departures, other than Trey Richardson and maybe Randon Fontenette, there's nobody on that list that I'm like, man, you really that really sucks. And we'll delve into him a little bit more, I'd imagine. I think getting Jalen Ruth back is a huge get back for Vanderbilt. I loved what I saw out of him in fall camp. I think he's a weapon. I think he brings really, really good length to this defense. And I think moving from star to outside linebacker could be a real weapon for this Vanderbilt defense.
Yeah, Jalen Ruth, I think we both had the opinion we liked what we saw to Ruth during fall camp. I will say I was one of the people freaking out about Randon Fontenette. I think the obvious one is Trey Richardson. We've talked about it so much. I don't need to go into that in detail, but that is the one that just is a loss. Like, you can spin it 7 ways to Sunday, but it doesn't matter. Trey Richardson is a huge loss. You're not going to replace that speed. You're just not. And that big play capability, unfortunately. Randon Fontenette, initially, I was in panic mode with his athleticism. Now, I will say I fully agree with what you said. Regressed is a very strong word, but his production dipped a lot in 2025. Went from 70-plus tackles to 52 or 53 total tackles. Went from 3.5 sacks to, I believe, half a sack or no sacks. Had no interceptions this year, of course, after that forever legendary pick 6 against Alabama.
Yeah.
Randon Fontenette is certainly a guy I would love to have back, but I don't know what the details of his deal are. But for the amount they were going to pay him, I don't think it's a devastating, irreplaceable loss.
Yeah.
Even though would certainly like to have him back.
Agreed. Did you see his tweet in regards to Vanderbilt fans whenever he committed to Colorado and somebody was like, "Oh, gonna miss you at Vanderbilt." And he made a tweet that said, "Left it better than I found it. All love for Vandy." And I was like, you know what, dude? They could never make me hate you, Randon Fontenette. Forever my star.
And what I've heard, I don't know if we talked about this. What I have heard is it wasn't money with Randon. The deal was pretty much the same monetarily between Vanderbilt and Colorado. The issue was Randon wanted a position and a role in a scheme that would translate better to an NFL draft prospect. And he was playing that star position, which they are phasing out this year.
Yeah.
But he was playing that star position that just doesn't directly translate to an NFL draft prospect. So it was a lot of scheme usage, that kind of thing was the issue. It was one of the few that wasn't directly tied to compensation.
Yeah, like I don't know if you remember Kyle Hamilton at Notre Dame. Whenever Clark Lee was the defensive coordinator there, obviously Kyle Hamilton played on that defense. He also played the same position. It was a star position. And a lot of the knocks on Kyle Hamilton going into the NFL draft was, is he quick enough to play a true safety in the NFL? That position, whenever it came to grading out Kyle Hamilton during that draft class, that was a huge question mark on his play capability. So,
and that's not exclusive to Vanderbilt.
Right,
it is an
yeah.
issue. It
Yeah.
is a small issue with bringing guys in and retaining guys in modern college football, that even freshmen, but especially now with the transfer portal, that you're so much closer to that NFL draft where you can make a strategic decision in your final year, different than a guy that's 17, 18 coming out of high school. But that's not exclusive to Vanderbilt. I mean, you can have the same exact criticisms about like Tennessee wide receivers, that they don't run the full route tree. And that's going to be a knock on, despite how the numbers that you will put up. And that offense from Josh Heupel is explosive and, incredible to watch at times. But those wide receivers, every single receiver that comes out, the knock from NFL draft scouts is going to be, did not see him run the full route tree in college. Every single one. And it's going to be the same issue with quarterbacks running that scheme, where you're not running through a full NFL style playbook or having the full reads to make. You're basically reading option routes. So it's quite a bit different.
Yeah. And I think too, I don't think that's just a Vanderbilt or a Tennessee thing, like you said, but I think that's in general. I think that's a big NFL to college thing right now, because if you compare college football play styles to what we're seeing in the NFL,
So
the
different.
NFL almost seems a little bit archaic compared to what we see a lot in college football. Now, NFL first guys would say, oh, college football is just running these wacky ass offensive schemes. But like you look, and it was like, of course, I was watching the Eagles Niners game this weekend, and Jalen Hurts and Brock Purdy both went under center a lot. I don't think we saw Diego Pavia go under center once in 2 years. And that's not a Vanderbilt thing. I don't remember the last. I mean, whenever that Iowa game, whenever Gronowski was going under center, I was like, this is the first time I've seen a college quarterback go under center in a couple of years. And I watched a lot of college football.
Yeah, that's a major difference.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that has to do with athletes,
Yeah.
to be honest, that just some of the stuff you do in college just isn't going to work. But college has always been a testing ground for things. And then the absolute cream of the crop rises and they utilize it in the NFL. I mean, that's been a thing as long as I've been alive, and I'm sure well before then.
Yeah.
Anything else to say about the outgoing guys before we move to the incoming guys?
Nope, none on those guys.
I would generally, the last thing I'll add is overall with what they've lost, obviously Trey Richardson, huge loss. Brandon Fontenette is one that we'd heard could possibly happen. I'd held out hope that they seemed to have a deal reached and things like that. But overall, pretty pleased with the lack of key players entering the portal. Just today was announced that Dante Carter is officially returning. CJ Hurd announced he's officially returning. A lot of guys have put out
Bryce Cowan, of course, we talked about last week.
A lot of guys have put out that announcement. So pretty pleased with what they have done as far as retaining guys so far from this roster. Obviously, a couple big stars next to some of those names, but overall, most of these guys are not key losses whatsoever. Coming in, this is where things get more interesting. Before the last episode, I'm going to read off the guys that we discussed briefly last episode with Alex. Tight end Javante Connor from East Carolina. Offensive tackle Bo Johnson from North Dakota State. Interior offensive lineman Lyndon Cooper from Pittsburgh. Defensive lineman Talon Carter from Jacksonville State. Cornerback Kobe Sellers from Texas A&M. And punter Tyler Ebel from South Dakota. So those are the guys that had committed prior to last episode of the Door Report. Now we're going to dive into the new commitments. And Vanderbilt has been active in the portal. They haven't hit on all the guys they wanted, but they have been very active. And we are still fingers crossed that there's not going to be any issues with this episode. We're still getting some weird latency issues on the monitor right now. So we're going to keep our fingers crossed. But let's dive in. And we're just going to go in chronological order of when these guys committed since last episode. So first up, wide receiver Cole Adams from Alabama. And we can discuss them a little bit individually in between.
I don't have much on that guy other than I think he's going to be a special teamer.
Yeah. Adams was primarily utilized as a punt returner, both his freshman or his first year playing for Bama and his second year. Last season for Bama, 19 punts returned for 156 yards during the 2025 season. This is a replacement and he only caught 5 passes for 71 yards and a touchdown. This is a replacement for Trey Richardson's returning capabilities. In some ways, kind of moneyballing it. They're replacing Trey Richardson in the aggregate. So that's what he will do. Maybe he can be a guy that's utilized in the slot at times, but he's got speed. He does have speed. We'll see how heavily he is utilized in the actual offense, but secure hands in the punt return game.
Do you think they also sort of swap him out? They'll use him in the kick return game, but do you think they swap him out in the punt return game for Martell?
It'll be interesting to see. Because Martell...
That's something that Martell... I don't want to knock the guy. I'm going to be totally frank. I thought Martell Height was very disappointing this year, both on defense and in special teams. And so, can he break big plays on special teams? Hell yeah, we've seen it. But I don't know.
Martell Height was disappointing relative to expectations. That's not a crazy statement. We had expectations he was going to be really a cornerback one, like an SEC CB1, a guy you can put on the other team's best wide receiver. That did not materialize. He was going to be utilized on offense. That didn't really materialize into anything. We had an explosive punt returner in Martell Height, no punt returns for touchdowns during the season. Now, that doesn't mean he was awful or bad or anything like that. It's just we had expectations like this could be an all-SEC first or second team type guy.
Yeah.
And that just did not materialize. So this isn't a shot at Martell Height that he was horrible. It's just we expected like all SEC first or second team. Just didn't happen.
Yeah.
So I think he will battle for that job as well as battle for the kick return job. We'll see. Next up is edge CJ Jackson from LSU. And I'll read my notes first, and then you can add anything I miss here. CJ Jackson from LSU, extremely athletic guy, high ceiling, without a proven track record of success. He only played in 2 games last season for LSU, recorded 3 tackles and half a sack. As a recruit, he was a high 4-star. according to Rivals industry rankings, and was the number 235 player nationally in the class of 2024. Definitely a good pickup at a position of need, but not proven that he can do it yet in SEC play.
Yeah, and just because it's recency bias, I went back and I watched his high school tape, and I was like, man, this guy, I can see why this kid got the rating that he got. I would be lying if I said there isn't a little bit of fear of a Keanu Coote situation, but I'm saying that's why I put the preface of recency bias.
I will say his risk, at least Keanu Coote contributed and had a couple sacks this year. He had a sack in the bowl game. I know he wasn't like a breakout player, but I could see CJ Jackson either being a breakout player or like not really seeing the field.
Yeah, and that's the same thing you said for Keanu Coote as well. I will say for CJ,
Coote just fell in the middle of what I was describing.
I will say for CJ though, whenever Keanu Coote came on campus, I said he's going to have to put some weight on. I think for playing weight, I actually really like where CJ Jackson is already. I don't think there's going to be an issue of having for him to like kind of buff up in the britches type thing.
Yes. By the way, CJ Jackson is 6'4", 250 pounds.
Yeah.
And he's only a rising sophomore as well.
So that's all I have on him. Like you said, not much you can derive from his days at LSU. So for like a lot of those kids that go back and I watch their high school huddle tape, and like you can see why he got the ranking he got.
Next up, long snapper Caden Schickel from Michigan State. I have written down in my notes, experienced long snapper, and a position you only notice if you have a bad one. Then all of a sudden, it's unbelievably important. But you don't even notice he's on the roster when you have a good one. So the biggest compliment you can give to a long snapper is the average fan doesn't know his name. That's the biggest compliment you can give.
And with Durham Harris this past season, of course, before that, you had Julian Ashby, and then you had Wesley Schelling. Vanderbilt has been very, very fortunate with really, really good long snappers.
Yeah, it's almost been a forgotten thing that guys even screw that up.
Like if I said the name Durham Harris on this pod, who the people who listen to this are diehard Vanderbilt fans, they'd be like, who's Durham Harris? And I'm like,
the Velocity-snapper,
the Velocity-snapper. The reason you don't know him is because he was damn good at his position.
Yeah, and Julian Ashby's still playing in the playoffs.
Yeah.
For the Patriots, a supplementary 7th-round pick. Awesome to see a guy in the pros performing. Next up, away from special teams, which, as you know, TDR is a special teams podcast.
Yes.
Special teams, special plays, special players. Next up, offensive lineman Micah DeBose from Alabama.
Fucking love this kid.
This is a fascinating pickup on the offensive line. A 4-star recruit in the class of 2025. Elite size, 6'5", 319. Blake watched some film on this guy of the limited film he was able to find. And Blake Fromang, insider offensive line expert, played offensive line at Vanderbilt, as well as was a superstar tight end. Blake quickly surmised that, based on limited film, so don't hold Blake accountable. This is just a super quick text, but said DeBose is a powerful run blocker, but struggles in pass protection. I think he used the term road grader, as a run blocker. I'm expecting him, and I could be wrong. Correct me. He's expected to play on the interior of the offensive line, but you don't know how that's going to develop under Chris Klinakis, because you saw Chase Mitchell bounce outside to tackle. It's going to depend on how the rest of this recruiting cycle goes as well.
A little inside ball to how fall camp works with Chris Klinakis is, dude, we saw Bryce Henderson take some snaps as center. We saw Chase Mitchell. We saw Bryce Henderson go inside. We saw everybody go inside, outside, every which way. Fall camp under Chris Klinakis is freaking bonkers, but I do expect him to be an interior guy. His arms are not long enough to tackle.
Absolutely love watching Chris Klinakis coach, by the way. He is only second to Jerry Kill in my two favorites. This is excluding Clark Lee. He's more managing the operation.
Vanderbilt could make money if they were like, hey, pay $50 a person to go in and watch Vanderbilt practice. You would get your money's worth by watching Chris Klinakis and Jerry Kill coach football. It's wonderful.
I would pay a one-time fee to just have a camera on Jerry Kill throughout all of fall. I mean, you can't take your eyes off that guy. He's an electric factory during practice and camp. Good pickup for Vanderbilt on the offensive line, hoping, and we'll discuss this in a second, hoping for maybe one or two more pickups, because right now it's thin on the offensive line, to say the least. Next up, we have edge, as Blake would like me to say, defensive end, Brian Allen from Iowa. Over the last 2 seasons, Allen has played 18 games for the Hawkeyes and recorded 33 tackles and 3.5 sacks. Was kind of in line. I don't know the full depth chart situation of Iowa and what they would have done in this transfer portal class, but was kind of in line to assume a starter role at Iowa. Instead chose to enter the transfer portal. Don't know what direction that fully came from, but regardless, the worst case for Brian Allen to me, he's proven he can do it over the last 2 seasons, a solid and experienced pickup. And worst case is a great depth pickup that you will see Brian Allen on the field this upcoming season.
A guy with experience, and we talked about it last pod. I mean, I'm not an SEC homer, so I think the Big Ten has been the best football conference the past couple of years. The type of offensive lines that they've produced the past couple of years, not just the past couple of years, but historically have been really, really good. Brian Allen has a lot of experience going up against elite top of the line offensive lines. I really, really love this pickup.
This is an underrated pickup. Yeah. This is one that doesn't get a ton of attention. It kind of falls to the wayside, and diehards are like, great, good pickup. I think that'll be good. And I think he will be a real contributor. We'll see how it shakes out. A lot of this is just huge projection for down the line. 2 more guys that Vanderbilt picked up, and they might be the 2 biggest pickups of this transfer portal cycle so far. First up, safety Ricardo Jones from Clemson. Talk about a surefire, experienced pickup.
Yeah.
Didn't expect Vanderbilt to land this quality of safety, especially with the guys they have returning. Like I mentioned, Dante Carter's returning, CJ Hurd's returning, Carson Lawrence is back. At Clemson last year, Jones started 12 of 13 games for the Tigers, recorded 39 tackles, 6 interceptions, and a pick 6. He was named to the All-ACC third team after the season. With the departure of Marlon Sewell, I think Vanderbilt upgraded pretty heavily. I mean, that might be the under.
I don't think there's any think about it, brother.
Yeah, that I like Marlon Sewell as a guy. Like stuck around with the program, team captain. Great person. Just Marlon Sewell was a bit of a liability in pass coverage and in a couple other aspects. Sometimes the tackling was suspect. Ricardo Jones is a surefire guy that I think you'll see starting.
He's a ball hawk.
Yep.
I mean, led Clemson in picks. He's a ball hawk. That's a real grade A top of the line upgrade and pickup for Vanderbilt.
6 interceptions last year. Just like want to emphasize that, because I don't think that's being emphasized enough. But that was one of Vanderbilt's major weaknesses last year was pass coverage. Well, that had to come from somewhere. Like, I like all these guys. They led Vanderbilt to a 10-2 regular season. Okay? Vanderbilt's pass defense has been atrocious the last 2 years. So something's wrong. And at this point, like, something's wrong. And whether it's a combination of scheme and player, some of it has to do with the players.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not calling out anything. It's something's wrong. So getting a guy that is a safety that is great in pass coverage is a huge, huge addition.
Yeah.
And a bit of Ricardo Jones' commitment. I just need to check the stats real quick. One thing. Okay, Martella Height had 4 interceptions. Nobody else on Vanderbilt's roster last season had more than 1 interception. That's why Ricardo Jones is such a huge pickup. I really didn't realize Martell had 4. That's nice.
And it's
he
like
got thrown at a lot. But.
Yeah. Well, and it's like you said, if you want to talk about the liability and pass coverage, like last year, like let's just be frank, the safety play from Vanderbilt was not good. I'm with you. I think I have the utmost respect for Marlon Sewell. I will remember him till the day I die, and I will have nothing but fond or positive things to say about Marlon Sewell. He was a liability in pass coverage. CJ Hurd was a liability in pass coverage and in the open field and tackling. Ricardo Jones is not a liability in pass coverage. He thrives in pass coverage. And so I think this is a huge, huge upgrade. I love the trio of Ricardo Jones, Dante Carter, and an emerging Carson Lawrence. I think that is a really, really, really good. And I know, guys, we didn't get to see a lot of Carson Lawrence at all. Guys, I'm telling you, please believe me when I say this. He's going to be a superstar.
He will be a star.
Carson Lawrence is going to be a superstar.
I have the same opinion of Carson Lawrence. And I really do think this upcoming year, because of CJ Hurd, because of Dante Carter, because of Ricardo Jones, you're not going to see a lot of Carson Lawrence next year.
Yeah.
But he is going, if Vanderbilt can retain him and keep him motivated and saying your time is coming, especially with the development he has had now underneath him. So he's not having to be thrown out there as a true freshman or a true sophomore. He's going to be a guy.
Yeah.
He's going to be a baller. All right. Final commitment that we have had since last episode, and maybe the biggest headline getter of all of the commitments so far, wide receiver Ja'Cory Thomas from Old Dominion. So to start this off, Vanderbilt missed out on Nitro Tuggle. Nitro Tuggle committed to Louisville. By the way, I have to throw this in here so I have it as a recorded take. I've ranted about it to multiple people. Louisville is silently putting together one of the best, if not the best, transfer portal class in the country.
Yeah.
Louisville has 23 commitments through the transfer portal. They are ranked in the On3 transfer portal rankings inside the top 5. It is almost every player that I'm looking at that's saying, man, that's a good quality player entering the portal. They're going to go to like an Ohio State, a Texas. Louisville is just up there alongside all of the big money spenders. I don't know what's going on with the Cardinals, but Louisville is picking up some studs. And obviously what drew my attention to that was Trey Richardson. But then I really started digging into it. So Vanderbilt missed out on Nitro Tuggle. Thomas doesn't have the burner speed of Trey Richardson. That's not the kind of wide receiver that he is. But he is a 6'3", 210-pound guy with some serious production at the G5 level. Caught 41 passes for 719 yards last year. 5 touchdowns for the Old Dominion Monarchs.
Yeah.
Great pickup.
A true X.
Yeah, a true wide receiver 2 to complement Junior Sherrill. I cannot emphasize. I mean, Ja'Cory Thomas may be just as good, if not better, than Nitro Tuggle. We'll see how that plays out. Still got a lot to watch and see how it develops in fall camp. I don't want to get too hyped up, but these guys that seriously produced at the G5 level really tickle my fancy.
Yeah.
I've got to say. And Ja'Cory Thomas is that guy. So I think that's a huge pickup for Vanderbilt.
Well, what has Vanderbilt lacked? I know the number one thing is speed, and that's the thing that Trey Richardson really brought to this team. But what's another aspect to the Vanderbilt wide receiver core that they have lacked for 5-10 years? Is it size?
Size and the ability to throw the ball up to a
Yeah.
guy. They just haven't had that. It's been since like Chris Boyd, Jordan Matthews, since they've really had anything like that.
Yeah, you haven't had a guy that you're like, okay, go up and just be physical and go up and get a ball. I don't remember the last time they've had that type of physical true X receiver with some serious size. Damn it, the kid from Texas Tech last year.
Loic Fungee.
I thought Loic Fungee could be that, but then made like one catch every important game. Loic Fungee, the anomaly.
He was one of the funniest players to ever be brought in as far as evaluating him.
Yeah.
Because we had expectations, not extremely high for Loic Fungee. We had expectations. He did not reach the expectations of what we thought. However, it felt like every time you forgot he existed, he would come up with one catch for 23 yards.
Huge ass
in a
catch.
huge moment.
Or it would be like 3rd and 10 against Alabama, and he would catch an 11-yard pass. And you're like, wait, what?
He will forever be a sicko Vanderbilt fan, all-time favorite of a guy in like 15 years when they're like, name a random Vanderbilt player or a Vanderbilt player with lore, and it'll be a ball knower answer.
Somebody's going to say Loic Fungee.
Exactly. But Ja'Cory Thomas is a huge pickup.
Yeah.
We'll see if that is the final pickup for Vanderbilt at a skill position.
Yeah.
I don't know yet. So that kind of moves us into the next stage of this.
I think it might be.
I think it might be. I don't have any inside information. So I'm going to swing it to you. If you don't have any, that's totally fine. Does Vanderbilt have any targets that you can share, or we can just discuss position groups you want to see Vanderbilt pick up some guys at?
So it's like what we said last pod, is that it's easier to get into Fort Knox than it is to get names from this Vanderbilt football program. However, I do have position groups that they are currently targeting. I know of at least one edge. I have heard of interior defensive line. They are still looking to target offensive line. I'm not going to bring it up because that's actually I heard a rumor about a running back. However, it came from a one-time source. I fact-checked it. I haven't been able to get any information back, so I'm just going to throw that to the wind. But what I can confirm with certainty is Vanderbilt is still looking at edge, interior, and offensive line.
Yeah, the running back that you just mentioned.
I lied. One more cornerback. They're
Okay, I was
still
about
looking
to
at cornerback.
say- I was gonna say
I'm sorry, guys.
if there's literally one position that I would be shocked if I saw a commitment from, it would be running back.
Yeah,
Vanderbilt. That would be the one that I would be like,
and that's why it like popped up in my mind, and my mouth just started moving quicker than my brain was thinking. I was like, I shouldn't bring that up. That's like, I would never bring something up that is just like has no chance of happening. So I'm sorry, guys. I don't know why I brought that up, but I can say with certainty, edge, interior, defensive line, offensive line, and cornerback are still areas of Vanderbilt's targeting.
yeah, and it's always very funny to me that I don't have, or I do have some sources, but I don't have anybody that I've discussed about recently with what Vanderbilt is continuing to target. With no sources, I would have listed off one additional cornerback. I would have listed off interior defensive line, and I would have listed off offensive line. Those would have been my guys. Those would have been my positions of need.
Yeah.
Because it feels pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Interesting that Vanderbilt has not picked up a linebacker yet in this class. I know they like Austin Howard. Longwell's back?
So, and I can actually answer
Yeah, please
this.
add on to that.
For those of you who don't know, Vanderbilt is doing away with the star position. That's kind of one of the reasons Randon Fontenette left. They're doing away with the star position. That's one of the reasons why Jalen Ruth initially left. The reason Vanderbilt is not going after backers is because they like the returning core they have. Plus, the initial taking away of the star position is going to add more guys to that outside backer position, more guys with athleticism, more guys with length. So like Austin Howard, I guess he'll be a redshirt freshman. True backer coming in. You're going to move Jalen Ruth to backer. I would imagine somebody like a Van Hinton and a Tate Hemby, who we actually saw a lot of at a fall camp. And I remember Tate Hemby in the I think it was the first scrimmage, was like going nuclear. We were like, damn, go off, Tate. I think those remaining star guys, I think they try and beef up and move them to backer. But yeah, you got Cowan back, you got Longwell back, you got Austin Howard returning. We still have no idea what the hell is going on with Langston Patterson. I think it's interesting that Joshua Singh went ahead and declared for the NFL draft, even though he's on that same lawsuit with Langston. So Langston is still up in the air. Jamison Curtis, that's another guy during fall camp who Jamison Curtis, we were watching him and we're like, okay, either this guy is just a practice warrior or he's going to be something. Jamison Curtis could be a weapon for this Vanderbilt team. They have a lot of really, really good depth at backer before the taking away of the star position. Now, with the taking away of the star position, adding those guys to backer, they've just gone back to they have a lot of mouths to feed, and it's just not a position of need at this moment.
Yeah, I mean, Jamison Curtis is a name that I forgot. You primarily saw him, I believe, on special teams this last season, but during fall camp, he was really good.
He got a blocked punt. He got a blocked punt.
It's funny to me, and this is just a random thought, that of all the struggles at position groups that Vanderbilt has historically had, and that has been a lot.
Yeah.
Basically, outside of running back, they've had some good solid players, and maybe you could say safety.
Traditionally they've had some dogs at corner too.
Yeah.
I know it's
yeah, they have.
They've either been really, really good at corner or they've been really, really
But it's
bad
very
at
funny
corner.
that linebacker.
Been
Vanderbilt's
staple.
always had a stable.
Yeah.
Good rhyming there.
Yeah.
A staple is the stable of linebackers that
Mhm.
Vanderbilt has been able to have. I mean, you can go back even when the team sucked. I mean, they had Zach Cunningham. I mean, they just continuously have solid linebackers outside of a couple years.
I mean, even in the 80s, you had Chris Gaines. Early 2000s, you had Hunter Hillenmeyer, dog.
I mean, maybe one of my favorite Vanderbilt players of all time, Jonathan Goff.
Jonathan Goff.
Chris Marv was a dog.
Oh, dude. I mean, even whenever Marv left, do you remember Carl Butler?
Oh,
Carl
dude, dog.
Butler was a
Underrated dog. Yeah.
Jacob Seelan before Derek Mason came in and moved him to an edge. Jacob Seelan and Darian Herring were dogs at backer. Darian was a dog at backer until Mason changed it to that 3-4 defense.
Sealand always – I liked – Sealand was the definition of a guy. He had a lot of tackles. He would always fall backwards when he made a tackle, and it drove me crazy because he wasn't a small linebacker,
No.
and it didn't seem like he was a guy that was scared of contact. Just how he tackled, the guy always fell forward for an additional 2 to 3 yards, and it bothered me. That's my main memory of Jake Sealand.
You know another Vanderbilt sicko. It's like, hey, name a just a player, not a top guy, just a player. Talk about backers. Nigel Bowden. Nigel Bowden was committed to Georgia Tech, flipped over to Vanderbilt. I have nothing but love in my heart for Nigel Bowden.
You know my main memory from Nigel Bowden?
You're gonna say the Temple game.
And I'm sitting in Section J, the now demolished Section J inside of First Bank, then known as Vanderbilt Stadium.
Yeah.
And they were losing in bad fashion. And I have a terrible memory. So the fact that this sticks in my brain, I think Temple went up 34-10 or something like that on a run up the middle. And I heard Nigel Bowden, I think he threw his mouthpiece down or just kind of went in emotion, yelled, "Fuck!" And I remember being like, yeah, yell more F words and keep letting Temple beat your ass. Yeah, that was me. I was also in high school. But yeah, that's my main memory of Nigel Bowden. Nothing negative, but that's my main memory. All right.
Another guy that could have been an all-time Vanderbilt legend if it weren't for injuries. Him, dude, a linebacker room with him and Zach Cunningham. Christ almighty.
All right. Anything else you want to add about the transfer portal before we move into segment 2 and talk some hoops and answer some premium message board questions?
One question for you. I know we've gone through all the guys. I know obviously Ja'Cory Thomas is sort of the guy right now that everybody's like, man, what a jump. Is there a guy on there?
We're not doing that yet. Premium message board questions.
Oh, well, hey guys, this is just further proof we don't read your questions.
I've started skimming them just in case.
Okay, well, hell yeah. Me and the borders are on the same wavelength.
That doesn't mean that I see all of them, so sometimes some shock me. But if I see something that's asked that I'm like, all right, let's try not to cover that until the question, that is one that
okay, hell yeah.
We are going to answer who is your number one portal pickup so far. We're going to answer that in the premium message.
Okay, hell yeah.
So after we go over basketball, stay tuned for the end of episode 349, and we'll answer that question. All right, we are going to now go to the TDR cocktail breaks. Everybody out there, grab yourself a delicious ice-cold beverage or hot beverage because it is chilly outside, and we will be right back after the TDR cocktail break. Welcome back into episode 349 of The Door Report, and welcome into segment 2. Hope you enjoyed your delicious hot or cold beverage during the TDR cocktail break. It is now time to talk some Vanderbilt hoops. After we talk hoops, we'll get into premium message board questions. But first up, Vanderbilt basketball is rolling. Men's and women's. Combined Vanderbilt men's basketball and Vanderbilt women's basketball is a combined 33-0. Vanderbilt women's basketball 17-0, now with a victory over LSU. Vanderbilt women's basketball officially is one of the blue blood programs in women's college basketball. What Shea Ralph has done is phenomenal. We'll see what happens when they have to play against like South Carolina and teams like that. But as of right now, Michaela Blakes is electric. That Vanderbilt women's basketball team is fantastic. Anything you want to add on women's basketball, Trevor?
I love watching Aubrey Galvin hoop.
Support the girls. If you enjoy women's basketball, they are certainly worth a watch. Michaela Blakes is a transcendent player.
Yeah.
Michaela Blakes is just straight up hooper.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. If you like basketball, you will enjoy watching Michaela Blakes play. But the main focus of this is going to be Vanderbilt men's basketball. Don't chuckle like that.
Miller made another face.
Vanderbilt, don't talk.
Yeah.
Don't you
Yeah.
speak.
Shut up.
How dare you
Shut
speak.
up. Eat your fried rice and shut it. We told Miller that if Vanderbilt men's basketball finishes the season undefeated, he can have an uninterrupted 10-minute segment on the pod.
So since we last recorded, Vanderbilt has beaten number 13 at the time, Alabama, 96-90 at home. Chaotic game. I mean, we'll dig into it in a second. Phoebe, just walk over everything on my laptop.
After she
Fantastic.
just puked.
She did just throw up as well. Vanderbilt also beat LSU 84-73, both of those games at home. Vanderbilt has moved into the top 10 of the AP rankings at number 10. Vanderbilt, but they have moved in the top 10.
Yeah.
So you can say that. The metrics would disagree with the AP voters. The AP voters have Vanderbilt at number 10. Ken Palm has Vanderbilt at number 5, and the NCAA net has Vanderbilt at number 7. Where does Torvik have them?
Torvik has them 4. Evan Maya has them at 7.
Okay. But the AP voters, they know more. Okay. The always educated and informed, and certainly the most ball-knowing group of people in the country, the AP voters, have put Vanderbilt at 10. There's been also, before we get into basketball, which we're already into it, but there's been a revolt a bit against the traditional journalist based on a question asked by a Jacksonville Jaguars reporter. And Pat McAfee sounded off. And that has erupted. If you haven't found that tweet or seen that, go look it up on Twitter. Pat McAfee sounded off, and you've seen the curmudgeon, nerdy, geeky, 5'7", 195-pound, absolute political nerds that have invaded sports journalism. You've seen them lose their collective minds over this. I cannot describe how much I am in favor of Pat McAfee's statement.
I agree. I'm right there with
Sports journalism has been co-opted by people that don't fucking like sports.
Yeah.
And it's killing college sports, it's killing pro sports, and it's so prevalent when you find a guy that loves ball and you follow them and they're covering the game versus somebody that doesn't.
Yeah.
It's so obvious. And so that's been a beautiful insight. But that's my rant on the AP voters. The AP voters.
We stand with that that reporter down in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
She is basically, she sounded like what I would sound like if I was in a Clark Lee or Mark Byington presser.
And that doesn't, I don't need to go into my full rant about it, but that everything about the initial actual question, I went, man, that was kind of weird to hear that from a media person. But my initial reaction wasn't like vitriol.
Yeah.
Like, oh, what are you doing? That's so unprofessional. Sports journalism is not political commentary. And guess what? If you're invested in the team, there's been some advice that's been passed down. I don't have a communications or journalism degree. Nobody on TDR does. There's been some communication passed down that's actually best to cover a team you don't like, because then you can be completely objective and look. No, fuck that. Like you're never. If you have invested time in something you love, that will never be matched by something that's assigned to you as a job.
Yeah.
You're not going to have the insights. You're not going to have the knowledge base. Everything about how the modern media landscape is moving. If you're somebody that went to college, didn't know what you wanted to do, signed up for a journalism or communications degree and went, man, I think I can make it in sports journalism, go fuck yourself. Like, you should not be a sports journalist. This is for people in the sports media. It's for people that love sports. That doesn't mean that it's always going to be, I love Clark Lee. I love what he's doing. Right now it is, because Vanderbilt's winning and things are going well. It's not always going to be that.
A couple of years ago for us, I might love Clark Lee more than his own wife loves him. And a couple of years ago, I was calling for Clark Lee to get fired.
An old Clay Travis saying before he went a little off the deep end, sports is the toy box of life. And that is what it is. And so you shouldn't have people taking that job. Like, you should take it serious. It is a job. You should be doing your research, but it's the toy box of life. Like, it's not political. You don't have to stay completely outside and maintain your professional. In fact, that's boring.
Yeah.
In fact, that gets you no insight. And most competitors, whether it's coaches or players, are totally fine with valid criticism.
Yeah.
Totally fine. Now, if you start just hating on somebody for no reason, that's different. But you can simultaneously have players you like and coaches you like, and also be critical. of them. That doesn't mean that they're going to turn your back to you. Whatever. That's a rant off subject. Let's get back to basketball unless you have something you want to add.
No.
Let's turn back to basketball. All right. Vanderbilt beat Bama, beat LSU. So I'm going to do the super quick recap version of what we have seen out of Vanderbilt basketball. So they beat, I've got my tabs all out of order. I wanted to read off stats, and I don't know what I was doing before this. Vanderbilt beat Bama 96-90 in a game that could be described as an absolute ref show. I was inside of Memorial on Wednesday night and a late tip at 8 p.m. Incredible crowd, by the way. Great crowd that was super into it.
Yeah.
Really phenomenal student section. But that turned into a complete and utter ref show. What were the total number of personal fouls? That's what I wanted to find. I
had it Wednesday, crazy. But I didn't write it down.
Crap. 64 total team fouls called between Vanderbilt and Alabama. They were basically completely even until towards the end of the game when Bama started fouling. And a combined, 88 free throws between four teams.
Yep.
The officiating crew just decided that everybody showed up in Memorial that night and everybody tuned in on TV to see them blow their whistle. And it was even on both sides, but legitimately one of the worst officiated games I've ever seen, if not the worst.
Yeah.
Usually my criticisms of referees are inconsistency. Of you at the beginning of the game, we're calling everything, and then you leaned away and started allowing contact to go. You leaned into a team that aggressively presses and allowed them to get handsy without calling fouls, that sort of thing. That's not what happened. They were consistently horrible throughout the entire game, and it felt like they couldn't keep up with the speed of the game.
Yeah.
But Vanderbilt did emerge victorious. And Duke Miles, who I specifically pointed out, I'll shout myself out a little bit. We both talked about it, but specifically pointed out as a key guy to get back for this Alabama game, played an especially key role in that first half. Was in foul trouble majority of the second half, but in the first, he ended with 19 points. I think he had 17 in the first half. Tyler Tanner was outstanding.
Yeah.
29 points on 8 of 15. Shooting was also 12 of 15 from the free throw line. I really did think Jalen Washington had a solid game as well. Devin McLaughlin cleaned it up on the glass. A.K. Okereke had a solid game as well. 8 rebounds, 10 points. He fouled out of the game. A lot of guys were in foul trouble throughout that entire game, including Tyler Nickel, who was kind of hampered by that foul trouble. And then Vanderbilt went on to play LSU. Had a really good first half. Was up 52-38 in the first half, and really struggled offensively in the second half. Still held LSU to 35 points in the second half, but Vanderbilt only scored 32 in the second. Couldn't throw a rock into the ocean. Tyler Nickel had I'm going to say Tyler Nickel carried this offense to an extent. I didn't want to say it like that because Tyler Tanner had a really good game as well, but Tyler Nickel bounced back, 19 points, 10 rebounds, the first double-double, I believe, of his career.
Yep.
Awesome to see that for him. Devin McLaughlin, 4 points, 9 rebounds. Tyler Tanner's just like unbelievably consistent.
Yeah.
Even when in this LSU game, he struggled to shoot the ball from 3, was 0 for 5, still put up 20 points, still was the facilitator of this offense, still had 3 key steals. Duke Miles put up 17 points. I cannot overemphasize how important Duke Miles is to this team.
Yeah.
Like this was such an upgrade from what Vanderbilt had last year. And no offense, he was much needed on this roster. Duke Miles is a tremendous upgrade from whoever you want to place in that upgrade position, either Hogard or Jason Edwards. Duke Miles has exceeded every expectation he could possibly have so far this season. Tyler Harris continuing to struggle, fallen out of favor, you could say, with Byington with his offensive struggles. Only played 3 minutes in the LSU game, but Vanderbilt has moved to 16-0 this season. Trevor, any thoughts you have on what you've seen in the last couple games or just kind of overall this season?
I mean, this Vanderbilt basketball team just keeps humming. I'll start out with the negative, and it's not really a negative because I believe they're still shooting around, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe they're still shooting around 80% from the free throw line. But it feels like certain players who are getting a lot of playing time, like let's just call it out, Chandler Bing. Chandler Bing cannot hit a free throw to save his life. I would like, just from the trend that I've seen the past couple of games, I would like to see less of Tyler Bing. Chandler Bing. There's so many Tylers. I would like to see less of Chandler Bing. Christ almighty, I did it again. Less of Chandler Bing. I would love to see more Mike James. And I get it with Frankie Collins out. You're trying to fill a hole on defense. Chandler Bing is a liability on defense. He is a liability on offense. Even if you just look at it from a defensive perspective, Mike James on-ball defense is so much better than Bing's.
So this is where
it's so much better.
This is where me and Trevor slightly disagree. Not on the sentiment overall of what you were saying, but I can elaborate. You keep going.
I just don't know how you watch this and say that Bing should be on the court more than Mike James. I really do. For his rebounding, maybe. But other than that, like, his defense is bad. He's objectively, if you look at the metrics, he's the worst defender on this roster. He is. He's the worst defender. He's the worst offensive efficiency player on this roster. And now I get it. Those numbers are going to be skewed because he does have more playing time than someone like Mike James and someone like Tyler Harris. But I just don't get what he brings to the floor when he's out there. And I know you have to fill a hole with Frankie Collins out. And I'm hoping that Frankie Collins comes back soon so that this can sort of get washed under the rug. But I really would like to see less of Chandler Bing. But overall, that's just being really, really nitpicky whenever it comes to this Vanderbilt basketball team. I love what I'm seeing out of Jalen Washington to be a little bit more nitpicky. I wish he was more physical to the rim. I wish he played a little bit more physical of the game, used a little bit more of his size whenever he's going up. But other than that, I mean, Tyler Tanner has been – have we ever seen a jump from year one to year two from any player like we have from Tyler Tanner?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. What Tyler Tanner has done to his game has been nothing short of sensational. I totally agree with you on Duke Miles. Duke Miles is a gem in every sense of the word. And whether you want to say he's an upgrade over Hogarth or Edwards, he's an upguard over both of them.
An upguard.
Upgrade.
You're struggling with words on this on this monologue.
We had this discussion after the Alabama game. I think I might be chopped.
Come on out.
I turned 29 in February. I'm going to be 30 in a little over a year. It might be over for you guys. I might be walking.
Not even out of school yet, and the brain's already failing you. That's tough.
I might be chopped, washed, and cooked. But I really love what I'm seeing from this Vanderbilt team. I love what I'm seeing on offense. I love what I'm seeing on defense. It's like I said, for me to be negative is for me to be real nitpicky at this point.
I mean, completely. The main issue we have is mainly surrounding an injury. Byington is working with the rotation, trying to figure out how to manage this rotation without Frankie Collins. And that's why Chandler Bing's on the court. Now, I disagree with Chandler Bing being on the court. I would rather see Mike James or more of Tyler Harris. But to be honest, Tyler Harris is really struggling shooting the basketball right now.
That he is, yes.
I'm hoping he'll get it back on track because he didn't struggle to shoot the ball at Washington. But this year he's really struggling. The ball's coming out flat. I don't know what's going on. He might be too much in his head just a little bit. I really have liked Jalen Washington's physicality so far. Maybe I just had really low expectations going into the season. I thought he was more of like a vertical player, kind of playing outside the paint a little bit. And he hasn't been that at all. I've seen him get physical. So not a disagreement, but maybe we just started from different places of expectations. I will say where I disagree, and this is where the analytics, and I know you can bring out analytics that would disprove what I'm about to say. I think Chandler Bing's analytics on defense are and I'm in agreement that I want more Mike James and Tyler Harris. It's just I think Bing is better defensively than them. I don't know about a better rebounder than Tyler Harris, but I know he's a better rebounder than Mike James. Defensively,
that he is, yes.
Defensively, I don't think Chandler Bing is as bad as maybe the metrics will tell you because he's being situationally subbed in on defense. And Mike James is being subbed in the opposite. So you're taking him out of any situation he could possibly be brutalized on defense.
That is a good point.
Chandler
Bing
is just taking a beating on the analytics because of how he's being utilized. Now, that doesn't change the overarching point you were making.
That is a good point.
I've said it over and over and over and over on this podcast. We're about to hit episode 350. And if I had to choose between a 20% better offensive player or a 40% better defensive player, I'm taking the 20% better offensive player. Because the goal of basketball isn't to stop the opponent from scoring. It's to score the basketball. It's different than football. It's different than baseball. Basketball is a scoring sport. and you're going to win more games putting the better offensive player on the court. That's my general thought. Now, there are exceptions to that and different things, but that's my general thought, is I would rather have the guy on the court that can score, because a mediocre to below average defender does not stagnate your defense. A mediocre to below average offensive player or a bad offensive player in Chandler Bing is going to destroy the rhythm and flow of your offense.
And
right
that seems
now,
to be Byington's philosophy overall.
And Chandler Bing is a freshman, okay? I think he could develop into a solid player for Vanderbilt. I just don't think he's ready. I mean,
I agree. I agree.
This is not even necessarily hate on Chandler Bing. He's very developed. God, that sounds weird. Very developed very developed guy physically for being a true freshman. Like, he doesn't look like a true freshman, but his offensive game looks like a true freshman. He's shooting below 50% from the free throw line, guys.
Yeah.
Like, he's just not ready. Like the same thing I was describing, which it worked out getting him experience, because my God, how he's improved this offseason. But similar things to what I was saying about Tyler Tanner last year is he like destroys the flow of this offense when he's on the court with AJ Hogard, because you have two ball handlers that can't shoot the ball. It's a similar thing. It's just Tyler Tanner was already elite defensively. You don't like Bing, even though I believe he's a better defender than Mike James, he's not elite defensively. And so that playing time, we'll see how Byington works it out. But right now he seems to favor Chandler Bing over Mike James, who Mike James did struggle in the LSU game, but hit a huge three in the Alabama game. And don't worry, I got hyped down there.
A big block against LSU as well. Now, one guy that I would be remiss if we did not mention, and I feel like I'm going to take it upon myself. I personally have not given this guy enough love. A.K. Okereke is starting to blossom into a really, 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 I don't want to use the term star, because like Tyler Tanner is a star and he's not Tyler Tanner level, but A.K. Okereke has up to this point surpassed what I thought he could be. On offense, he's shooting above 50% from the field. He's shooting close to 40% from three. His defense is really, really good. I love his physicality down low. A.K. Okereke is, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to call him a star, but like, he's almost indispensable.
He's a extremely valuable piece
he's
to this roster.
Highly valuable.
A.K. Okereke is shooting 53.5% from the field this season, 38.5% from three.
Yeah.
He's exceeded every expectation that I've had from him. I knew he would. Knew he would be a solid defender, solid rebounder with his size. He's built like a damn tight end.
Yeah.
But his offensive skill has really surprised me. His footwork when he gets the ball in the paint is phenomenal.
Yeah.
A.K. Okereke has been great. Really one of those pickups that I devalued in this offseason. But Vanderbilt upcoming has a road test against the Texas Longhorns. The Texas Longhorns are currently 10-6, 1-2 in SEC play. Vanderbilt plays them at 8 p.m. tomorrow, or today, when you're listening to this, on the 14th of January. Where is that game televised? I wanted to read that off, and I did not write it down.
I think that's SEC Network.
It is ESPN2.
Wow.
So Vanderbilt plays Texas on ESPN2 tomorrow at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time / today. When you're listening to this, if you listen to it at release, they started 0-2 in SEC play with losses against Mississippi State and Tennessee before going on the road and beating Alabama. Unfortunately, makes Vanderbilt's resume look slightly worse. But Texas is not a team, even though you would see that record 10-6, 1-2 in the SEC, blah, blah, not that good. Like, I'm not saying they're an elite team. I'm not even saying they're a good team, but they are a very experienced basketball team. According to Ken Pom, they are 6th in Division I basketball experience. Swain at the guard / forward position. I don't know. Basketball's at this point, like ESPN has him listed as a guard.
It's positionless. Yeah.
He's like a 3 guard. He's kind of in between a small forward and a guard. He's 6'8". He's Texas's leading scorer and rebounder. Jordan Pope is a guy you got to watch out for from behind the 3-point line. He's made 43s on the year so far. He's the only player on Texas's roster that has shot above 100 threes so far this year. That's what I've written down for Texas. A big road test for Vanderbilt tomorrow. These road games, especially in basketball, they cannot be overlooked.
Yeah.
This is a sneaky game, especially with what they have on the horizon against Florida.
Yeah, and I don't even think we should use the word sneaky. Like you said, you look at their record, you look at their in-conference record, you're like, not a great. This is going to be, if Vanderbilt wins, this will be a quad 1 win. This will be I think if Vanderbilt played this game at Memorial, correct me if I'm wrong, it would still be a quad 1 win.
I got to look.
I know
Because you got to be in the top 30.
30. Okay, then I think they were teetering last I checked. I know tomorrow if they win, it will definitely be a Q1 win.
Have we explained how the quad system works yet?
I just figured our listeners knew
on the podcast.
But I don't think we
so
have.
I'm going to really quickly, really fast.
Yeah.
Because I think this is confused because I've simplified it in football terms when we were talking about the ZFP. I just don't want people to be confused.
Yeah.
So there's a big difference in home and away.
Yes.
In Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4 wins. So Q1 wins are teams that are ranked number 1 through number 30 in the country when you're at home. On a neutral site, it's number 1 through 50. And when you're away from home, it's teams ranked number 1 through 75. Q2 is home 31 through 75, neutral 51 through 100, away 76 through 135. Q3 at home is 76 through 160, neutral 101 to 200, and away 136 to 240. Q4 at home is anybody above 161. Neutral site, anybody above 201. And away is anybody 241 and above.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really quick. No need to dig into that, but that's how the quads work. Because I was talking with somebody and they were thinking it was 25%, 25%, 25%, 25%.
That would make sense.
Which makes sense when you talk about quadrants.
Yeah.
Because quadrants are normally done that way.
Or a quarter.
But that's not how
No.
the Q works. And home and away makes a big difference. I'm not sure where Texas is in the net.
I believe
that up.
they are.
Because I know they're 47 in Ken Palm. That's Texas Tech. Texas is 51, so no, it would not be. But it is a Q1 game on the road.
Yeah.
But at home, no.
It would be a Q2 at home. I get so confused because I keep up with the net, but Evan Maya, I'm a big. If you haven't put 2 and 2 together, I love Evan Maya. Evan Maya has them.
Ken Palm, man.
Evan Maya has them as the number 34 team in the nation. But yeah, this regardless, this will be a Q1 victory if Vanderbilt gets it done. I have some stuff over Texas. I've got some interesting team stats and just 2 players to look out for. I also have 3 keys to victory for Vanderbilt. So throwing it back to football season. Some interesting things about Texas. In terms of their team stats, they are number 11 in the nation rebounds a game. They clean up the glass. They get 44.4 rebounds a game. You mentioned Dylan Swain. He's a big part of that. He leads the team in rebounds. Like you said, he also leads the team in points. Dylan Swain also leads the team in assists and steals. So outside of blocks, Swain leads the team in every statistical category. I'll get to him in a little bit. They are heavy on attacking the rim on offense. Their effective field goal percentage is 53.9%. They are not good from 3. As a team, they're shooting 33.8% from beyond the arc. So their offense, if you watched any of Texas, they're very much predicated on crashing the glass, getting the ball to their bigs, or Dylan Swain just kind of doing it all himself. They crash. If Pope is open, they'll swing it to him for a 3. He's really the only threat from 3. Now flipping over to their defense. Overall, they're an average to below average defensive basketball team. Really, I want to look at their 3-point defense, something that they're going to have to really, really guard whenever it comes to this Vanderbilt team come tomorrow or today when you're listening. They're number 238th in the nation in 3-point defense, according to Bart Torvik. That is really, really, really bad. Looking over some players to watch, we mentioned Dylan Swain, guard. Like I said, leads the team in points, boards, assists, and steals. Swain is also their best on-ball defender, and it's really not even close. Really, whenever you look at Pope, doesn't crash the glass that much. He kind of stays at the arc, lets Pope crash the glass, sucks the defense in, swings it out to them. That's his real threat. You're not going to see him in the lane or in the paint that much. That's really not where he handles it. Now, quickly, I'm going to rip through my 3 keys to the game. Got more stats to support these. Number 1, is going to have to be smart shot selection from Vanderbilt. Like I stated, they're number 11 in the nation whenever it comes to rebounds per game. They're also number 12 in the nation whenever it comes to fast break points. 286 points coming off fast breaks. So they're going to really grab those boards and they're going to push it fast up the court. So what Vanderbilt's going to need to do to combat that is smart shot selection. Make sure those go into the bucket. Don't give them an opportunity to turn it into a track meet going back up to the other end. Number 2, smart backcourt, physical front court. This sort of goes into what I said initially. Vanderbilt's bigs, McLaughlin, AK, Jalen Washington are going to have a battle down low. Texas, great rebounding team. They are going to have to hold their own. And if the shots aren't falling, they're going to have to do their best to make sure that Vanderbilt has second and third chance opportunities, or else Texas is going to push that tempo and they're just going to rail you whenever it comes to transition, basketball. And number 3, this goes back to the 238th in the nation in three-point defense. Vanderbilt's going to have to let it rip from 3. That might sound counterintuitive to what I said earlier whenever it comes to smart shot selection. But I think Vanderbilt has shown that they are a really, really good three-point shooting team. I love what I've seen from Tyler Nickel, obviously. I love what I've seen from Tyler Tanner, and I love what I've seen from Duke Miles. Vanderbilt is going to have open baskets whenever it comes from 3. I also really like A.K. Okerake's options whenever he's out on the perimeter on offense. I think he's going to have a lot of really, really open shots. If you've watched any Texas basketball, they're just not super disciplined on defense. They leave a lot of men open. They don't rotate very well. I don't know if it's a communication issue, but they just leave guys open whenever it comes to shot selection. So those are my 3 key takeaways, or my 3 keys to victory: smart shot selection, smart backcourt, physical front court whenever it comes to those rebounds, and just let it rip from 3. I think if the threes are falling, you don't give them an opportunity to get those rebounds and push that tempo. I really, really like Vanderbilt's odds in this game.
What a 3 keys from Trevor. I did not prepare 3 keys, so I do not have them. Anytime that Trevor has those, they are more than welcome throughout basketball season. That's not something that we normally continue on, at least until SEC tournament play. That's when we really start.
Yeah.
Hey,
Phoebe.
Phoebe just decided to attack my hand. Whatever. She's been staring it down since you started talking. After the Texas game, Vanderbilt returns home to Memorial Gym to take on the number 19 Florida Gators. Florida currently sitting at 11-5, 2-1 in the SEC. Personally, I'm worried about the height of the Florida Gators.
That's going to be a backcourt battle.
To me, right now, that is the one thing Vanderbilt has not faced. SMU had some size, but they have not faced elite size and rebounding.
Mm-hmm.
And Vanderbilt was out-rebounded by Alabama, I believe 49-38.
Yeah.
Florida has the best offensive rebounding in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Not exaggeration. According to Ken Palm, they are number 1 in the country at offensive rebounding. Their height is 12th in the country, and that is largely due to Alex Condon and Ruben Chinyelu. That's why Florida's so dominant on the glass. Those 2 guys scare me as a Vanderbilt fan, because to me, that is Vanderbilt's weakness, is rebounding the basketball. So that's going to be a huge, huge test for Vanderbilt. And I'm very happy that game is at home.
Yeah.
Also, just a name to watch that's kind of struggled this year is Arkansas transfer Boogie Fland. I know he got a lot of attention during the transfer portal cycle, and he is not really performed well for Florida so far this season, but he's a name to watch. He can get hot.
Well, their entire backcourt has struggled. Like Zaven Lee has not been good. Boogie Fland has not been good. I've actually watched a lot of Florida basketball this year, and that, like the stats suggest, their moneymaker is going to be their backcourt. If anybody watched that Tennessee Florida game, I mean, that was just like a 1980s rock fight in the lane. Between their bigs. Vanderbilt has a clear, very, very, very clear advantage in the front court. Florida will not be able to guard Vanderbilt's guards whatsoever. Like, bet it, blood bank guarantee, take that to the bank, put your mortgage on it. Vanderbilt will maul them in the front court. The backcourt, I apologize. Vanderbilt is going to have to be really, really physical down low. in the front court. Vanderbilt is going to have to get rebounds. Vanderbilt is going to have to play a physical brand of basketball that, like you said, we really have not seen them be super capable of thus far. So I think Saturday, and also a little teaser, for Saturday games, I'm going to start doing like a 10, 15-minute video of like the rundown I just did for the Saturday weekend games. We'll upload those to our YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, everything. And so I'll do a little rundown for Florida. But I think Vanderbilt in the backcourt with Duke Miles, Tyler Tanner, clear advantage. Won't be close on offense or defense. The front court is going to be a rock fight. Vanderbilt's going to have to play much more physical in the front.
Yeah, the offensive rebounding, that's specifically what scares me about Florida, because Vanderbilt did struggle with that against Alabama and won in spite of that struggle.
How long has Alex Condon been playing basketball? Dude, it feels like 10 years.
A decade, at least it feels
he
like.
was with Florida during this for a couple years during Stack. Am I right?
It's been a while. I would have to look at that.
I think he's been playing basketball for 4 or 5 years now. I feel like he's one of those guys I'm like, dang, man, he's been playing basketball.
He's only a junior.
That
2023, 24, 24, 25, and 25, 26. It feels like he's been here longer.
I mean, that's right, because I'm not going to call the ESPN fact checkers liars, but that feels wrong. You know what I'm saying?
It does feel wrong.
I feel like
he's been there
with Florida during Bryce Drew.
It's been there forever. That is it for basketball. Vanderbilt's got 2 tough tests on the horizon, but sitting at 16-0 and in the top 10 in the country, according to AP voters. We're going to take a quick TDRP break before we dive into premium message board questions. Who knows what these will be about, but we know we have quite a few questions about the transfer portal, so we'll be right back after the TDRP break. Welcome back from the TDRP break, and welcome into premium message board questions. We're going to answer TDR premium subscribers' questions from the premium message board behind closed doors. First up, we have GLH4VU asks, it's been talked about on the board a bit, but what are your player power rankings for this basketball team?
I love this question. I'm just going to write these down. Number 1 is TT3. I'm going to go number 2, could make an argument, Duke Miles. Number 3, Tyler Nickel. Number 4, I'm going to go AK Okereke. Number 5, I'm going to go McLaughlin. 6, I'll go Jalen Washington. And I'll give you a 7th. Mike James.
1, 2, 3 to me is very easy, and it's exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
Tyler Tanner, Duke Miles, Tyler Nickel. Then I think there's a drop. Not a massive one, but there is a drop, and then I think you can get into some debate. Right now at 4, importance versus power rankings would be different.
Yes, I agree.
Importance, I think Jalen Washington might be up there, but I'm going to say power rankings wise, I'm going to go number 4, Glock, number 5, AK, number 6, Washington.
I said 6 Washington, didn't I?
I think so.
Okay. I was going to say that's a gross misstep on my part. If I
And
did.
number 7, despite the struggles, I'm going to go Tyler Harris there. And actually a guy that's been hurt, Frankie Collins, would actually be higher than that, but he's been hurt. So that's our quick rankings. I don't think we disagree.
Healthy Frankie Collins, where do you put him? I would put him at 4. I'd bump AK to 5, Glock to 6.
I would bump him to 5 with it's not that AK is so good with what he does. Well, this is where power rankings are important. I'm getting them messed up.
Mm-hmm.
If they lost AK, I feel like that's a lot more recoverable. Like if they lose Jalen Washington, I'm afraid this
Huge hit to depth. Yeah.
Like absolutely screwed. So that's a tough question, but I like your rankings a lot. Next up from the Common Man's Commodore. What a time to be a door. After getting to go to my first basketball game of the season, thank you, Brian Smokin' J. Carlson, and seeing Memorial rocking in black and gold. It felt like a breath of fresh air after being quarantined in a cell with no windows. Do you think the Doors can remain undefeated at home this season? Who will be our worst matchup for the remainder of the season? And why is it Florida? As always, anchor down, Admiral C. Before I even read that second part, I was going to say Florida, to be honest.
Welcome back to Memorial. Yes, I think Vanderbilt could go undefeated at home.
If they beat Florida, then I'll give that a hefty yes. Florida is the toughest opponent they have left, in my opinion, with how they match up against Vanderbilt. That's also at home very soon. You're giving this a lot of thought.
I'll go Florida.
Next up from Ezra Chris Magnon. How much longer before Vanderbilt no longer becomes the weekend trip to watch your team kick Vandy's ass and hit Broadway Saturday night and brunch Sunday town? Do you think the decline in that is already here, would occur this fall, or maybe sometime further in the future? I think further in the future.
I think as long as Nashville is one of the it cities in America, it'll be that way.
I do think if Vanderbilt sustains the success they had last year, if they just become a true team that consistently only has one loss at home or something like that, I think that will dampen the opposing crowd. But regardless, you're dealing with Nashville as a destination city. But I do think having success at home will help with that, but I don't think it's going to happen after one season.
Mm-hmm.
I think you got to have that for longer, or 2 seasons if you extend it back to last year. But it's got to be more, and I think it'll be further into the future.
I agree.
World's Strongest Vandy fan. Happy 1 year of On3/Rivals affiliation, TDR. Pretty sure the date within the last week, because that's when I made my account. I think it is.
I think it was January 1st.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
What has been your top TDR moments of the past calendar year since becoming the On3/Rival affiliate site?
Great question.
I'm going to say all of it. Feels like it's been a
kind of a fever dream.
It's been some could argue it's been the reason for Vanderbilt's success. But the last year,
there is a correlation that could be made.
The last year has been so incredible for Vanderbilt athletics that I can't pick out anything specific.
Yeah, that's hard.
It's been incredible. It's all been phenomenal, and Vanderbilt's on-field and on-court success is a large part of that as well.
I'll say game day.
Yeah, game day being here.
That's chalk, awesome. But yeah.
Also, which portal additions are your favorite? Which portal addition are you most excited for so far? And then the next question is from Unabridged. Rank the portal additions by how excited you are for them. So I have mine kind of prepared in my head a little bit. So I'll let you think on that.
Yeah, rip your. I think I have my number one.
So my number one is Ricardo Jones from Clemson. And I don't know if excited / is the most surefire commit that they have. One of those two. Excited and most sure they're going to be successful are two different questions. But Ricardo Jones, a close number 2 is Ja'Cory Thomas and Bo Johnson at offensive tackle. And then maybe a small little gap. And then I'm going to go edge CJ Jackson. I'm excited to see what he can be. And that's not a surefire either direction. I just think his ceiling is unbelievably high. Then Micah DeBose. I'm excited about him. Javante Connor, probably next for me. I don't know what he's going to bring, but
Is it Connor or Carter?
I thought it was Connor.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like I said, I'm washed, chopped, and cooked, y'all.
Then I would probably go after that Brian Allen, and then I would probably go Tyler Ebel, to be honest, at punter. Then probably Lyndon Cooper, the offensive lineman. Then Kobe Sellers. Then Talon Carter, and then, no offense to him, probably Cole Adams after that, and then we're going long snapper Caden Schickel.
I'm going to start out with a hot take. At number 1, give me Javante. Number 2, give me Ricardo. Number 3, give me Cooper. 4, give me Michael DeBose. 5, give me Brian Allen.
So you're not that excited about Ja'Cory Thomas?
No, I'm very excited about him. I think Javante's the sleeper of this entire class, if you want me to be totally honest.
I can see that.
I think Javonte is going to carry the very recent legacy of Vanderbilt tight ends. I'm very, very, very excited about a tight end room of Javonte and Cole Spence.
I don't hate that at all.
Like I said, it was a hot take. Ricardo Jones is easy chalk number 1, but I really, really like Javonte.
From Pavia Mafia, were there any transfer portal additions that you didn't expect Vandy would be able to land? On the flip side, were there any players you were confident Vandy would get who ended up going elsewhere? Number 1 is Ricardo Jones. I didn't think that caliber of safety Vanderbilt was going to be able to land. And then I did think they would be able to land, but Bo Johnson, that's a great get. That's being overshadowed because offensive linemen are always like that. As far as players I was confident Vanderbilt would get who ended up elsewhere, I mean, that's Nitro Tuggle. I was really hoping Vanderbilt would get Nitro Tuggle. That's the number 1 that sticks out in my mind.
I think for me, number 1 is Michael DeBose. I think if you followed his recruitment, like LSU and Lane Kiffin wanted him really, really, really badly. I love that get for Vanderbilt. Ricardo Jones, obviously, he kind of came out of left field. I didn't hear his name anywhere, so that was a big left field. And the second portion was somebody that we missed on. Tuggle. Shit, that edge out of Colorado. Merritt.
Yep.
That he was my white whale.
Next question from Peter Porker 714. Baseball? First pitch in a month.
Yeah. Peter, your time is coming, brother.
Vanderbilt at number 23 in D1 Baseball's top 25 rankings, preseason top 25 rankings. Adam Baum, 1987. Saw Tyron Stokes listed us top 4, but we're the only team to not have a visit, and KU is about to get their second one done. Confused as to why we're in his top 4 or monitoring if he hasn't visited, unless it's a pure money thing. Thoughts? I will say very recently there was an article published by On3, and I'm forgetting the writer, but Vanderbilt has kind of deeply fallen into that number 4 spot, according to his inside information.
Yeah.
So Vanderbilt offered him. There was some interest. It hasn't worked out. He goes on to say, also, I know y'all have debated who the best three-point shooter or which Commodore would you want on this team. My question is, who's the best glue guy we've ever had?
Wonderful question.
Jeff Roberson. Just throwing names.
I mean, the first name that comes to my mind would be Brad Tinsley, but that backcourt's already so loaded. I don't think he'd get any playing time. I actually think Jeff Roberson would be. I think Lance Goldburn would be a really good get.
Unabridged responded Lance Goldburn or Steve Chingang.
I would. Final answer. I'm gonna lock in Ted Scooches.
Make the old heads happy a little bit.
Ted Scooches is my favorite Vanderbilt basketball player of all time. Ted Scooches made me fall in love with Vanderbilt basketball.
Hell yeah.
And I'll go Ted Scooches.
Bobby Joe. Sorry this is late, but how great was it to see Ken Seals get his moment with TCU in the Alamo Bowl? Love seeing
Thank you for bringing it up. That was awesome, man. Shout out to Ken. Shout out to his dad. Truly like salt of the earth people. Nobody deserved that more than Ken.
He goes on to say the clips of him collapsing in disbelief during their final touchdown got me misty-eyed. That dude carried a heavy load for us in 2023, and he deserved a moment like that. Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
That was awesome. That was the school he grew up cheering for.
Yep.
And to be able to lead them to a bowl victory is awesome. MRTD Burke says, has anyone started scouting to see if Cornell has another two-way wing we can add to this team next season, assuming AK is out of eligibility? I'm sure they got somebody marked by after AK and Chris Magnon.
Yeah. Is Cornell a feeder for Vanderbilt basketball? It seems that way.
Some are saying. Ro Miller High Life. It's a great name.
I love this guy.
Says, with Mike James emerging as a bona fide player of the year candidate, how long is it before TT or Duke has to take a seat on the bench in favor of him? Probably happening next game.
Dude, hey, shout out to my Mike James truthers. Stand up. My 29th birthday is in February, and me, a 28-year-old about to turn 29. I asked my mother and father for an early birthday present. I left Memorial Gym Saturday, called my mom and dad and said, hey, for an early birthday present, could I get a Mike James basketball jersey? When most people are out having kids, building their life, I'm asking my mom and dad for a Mike James basketball jersey.
Ro Miller High Life says, secondly, word on the street is that all the Vandy players think Byington is NBA bound. Would hate to lose him, but that seems more likely at this juncture. Thoughts on a North Carolina legend, Jerry Stackhouse? Heard he dresses well. If that doesn't work, we could go hire Matthew Fisher Davis for his late game clock management skills. We're Matthew Fisher Davis guys. You're not going to hear me say shit. Vandy has been very spoiled this year, so I wanted to ask, what has been the most demoralizing moment in Vandy sports that you've seen? The ETSU reverse cover was bad, but I also didn't think the expectations were that high to begin the season. For me, it's got to be the Northwestern March Madness game or the 108-102 game against Tennessee and Memorial.
The first Vanderbilt sporting event that I felt like true demoralizing, debilitating pain was the round of 32 Vanderbilt versus Wisconsin, Jeff Taylor's senior year. That game was the first time I felt like real, genuine pain from Vanderbilt athletics.
I mean, my number one, there's really not a close second. It changed everything about me. How I am wet blanket Will, it all stems from 2014 Temple. That's number one to me. Everything about that game, the weather delay, Pat and Robinette going out with everything about that game it's Temple. I will also say there's been recent, to knock off some of the cockiness, Georgia State last year, I traveled down for that game. It was pretty demoralizing in 2024. That was a disgusting game. And then, yeah, the ETSU game, I don't care if there weren't high expectations. There was one thing at that point that Vanderbilt fans, football fans, had to hang their hat on. That was Vanderbilt had never lost to an FCS opponent. They didn't only lose to an FCS opponent. They got dominated by an FCS opponent. That was like the lowest point of Vanderbilt football for me. Not necessarily the most disappointing. That was Temple. Because in 2014, Derek Mason's first game, there were still some high expectations for what that team was going to be. That one was number one, and it's really not close for me. Actually, real demoralized, like individual play, because it didn't break the rest of the season. That Ole Miss game opening the season was it 2013? Jeff Scott running down the sideline. That was the worst individual moment. But they ended up having a good season afterwards.
I got another one that only real ones remember. 2007 Vanderbilt versus Georgia. Georgia kicked the game-winning field goal as time expired. That one got me.
MTSU blocking a field goal. Vanderbilt losing to MTSU. That was brutal as well. I was at that game. There were quite a few. We could go into this for a long period of time.
We could make a couple episodes out of this.
Kodak Black and Gold says Mike James on the pod would break the internet.
Guys, I am the utmost Mike James truther. I love Mike James. I actually, at the Alabama game, I yelled from 2L, Mike James, I love you. And apparently I was laughing with my dad, but he turned around and looked at me and everybody was like, he looked at you. I love you, Mike James.
Vandy Gold, as of the podcast, give a grade to our overall portal additions compared to those leaving Vanderbilt. Are we better or worse in each position?
That's a good question.
That's a tough one. Offensive line worse right now. Tight end, you're losing Eli Stowers, not to the portal, but to the draft. I mean, you're going to be worse at tight end, losing the best tight end in the country. Running back is the same, going to be an offseason improved. Wide receiver, the loss of Trey Richardson, I would say, and Richie Hoskins graduating, I would say slightly worse. Quarterback, you lost Pavia. Even though Jared Curtis is a 5-star plus, you lost a runner-up in the Heisman voting. That's a worse. Basically, the whole offense, to me, at every single position outside of running back is slightly worse than last year. Not dramatically worse, but as of right now, slightly worse. On defense, the defensive line, I don't think they've done enough yet. I think they've done an okay job on edge. Interior defensive line, I'm a little concerned about. We'll see. Wataha is supposedly back. I don't know if he can ever stay healthy. but he's supposedly back. I think they need to do more on the interior.
Yeah.
As of right now, you've lost Langston Patterson to graduation. You haven't really done anything. I think the linebackers are basically the same / slightly worse. I think safeties are improved dramatically from what they were last year. You basically have everyone back with the addition of Ricardo Jones. I think corner, I would say about the same because you have Martell Height back. Jordan Matthews is back.
You lost something in Colby Taylor this year.
You did. But he wasn't like an all-SEC type player or anything. I think overall right now, I'm not being negative. You're going from a team that went 10-2. The overall roster is just slightly worse.
Yeah, I agree. And I agree with all your positions.
I don't think it's like horribly worse, but it's not what it was last year. Most of that is not due to transfer portal departures. It's due to graduation. And you're just having to replace a lot of production.
Yeah, I agree with all your position grades or evaluations thus far.
Bob Law 7'9". Bob Loblaw 7'9". Great reference to Arrested Development. After the portal additions to date, what do you think next year's football team's floor and ceiling is? Factoring in schedule, of course. I'm gonna be honest.
It's so early.
It's really early, but the floor is a lot lower. I mean, this floor, like we're talking a true floor, it's like 4-8. And I think the ceiling, if everything goes as planned, is like 8-4.
That's my exact response to both.
You're likely going to have a true freshman starting at quarterback. You lost your most explosive playmaker on offense. You've got really good running backs, but you lost your best pass catcher in Eli Stowers and your second best pass catcher in Troy Richardson. The offensive line looks like there's still more time in the portal, but right now the offensive line looks thin, to say the least. I think the defense could be the same / improved. I think undoubtedly the offense is going to take a step back. So that's my ceiling and floor, my way too early ceiling and floor.
Yeah. Guys, remember, we still have a spring portal as well.
Nope.
Oh, they did do away with that?
There's no more spring portal. GLH4VU on the glue guy question. Vandy fan first off said Chris Magnon has to be up there despite recency bias. And then,
I would agree with that.
And then GLH4VU says Jeff Roberson or Corey Smith. So we're on the same page about Roberson.
I like the Corey Smith edition.
A forgotten name is Jeff Roberson. Vandy fan 95. How many more football transfers will we be taking? I think we're at 14 as of Tuesday morning. Honestly, my guess 2 to 4. If I had to guess, do you have any disagreements on that?
I'm doing some quick math. I'd say 4 to 5. So
Okay.
Same ballpark. I think they go one edge, one interior. I think they get 2 more offensive linemen. I think they get 1 defensive back. Or cornerback, I should say.
Vandy fan asks, can you formally try to get Jared Curtis on the pod?
We can certainly try.
We can try, sure.
The one thing that you can always bet on is that TDR will give it its effort.
We can reach out. Let's reach out. Let's get that no.
We've gotten a lot of no's from Vandy before. So it won't be our first and it won't be our last.
You're the man that'll reach out. So Trevor will reach out. I'll assign that task to you. And you can get the rejection.
They're used to it.
I really don't think, to be honest, they're going to let the 18-year-old new superstar of this team join TDR.
Yeah.
I'm just going to guess. Not that we would do anything, but I'm just going to guess. I wouldn't advise it.
If I was in Vanderbilt shoes, I would not allow it.
If I was in Vanderbilt shoes, and we're not going to do anything unprofessional if Jared Curtis was on, but I wouldn't advise it. So that can give you your answer right there. We struggled to get fall camp credentials, so we'll see. Mr. Magoogs asks, it's been fun watching Tennessee get absolutely lockered by Lane Kiffin and LSU for a transfer portal quarterback, but it got me thinking about the quarterback value and Vanderbilt's strategy going into next year. Word is Sam Leavitt has been offered somewhere around $8 million by both Tennessee and LSU. I think that's a little high. Just for context, Josh Heupel is paid $9 million a year, so that's where we're at now. I don't think it's $8 million.
I'm pretty positive NACO said it was 5.
Yeah, I don't think it's quite 8 million, but it's still a crazy number, regardless of
Yes.
if it's 4 to 5 million or 8 million. He goes on to say Tennessee has 2 5-star high school quarterback recruits in the building, George McIntyre and Faison. And yet Josh is trying like hell to pull an proven transfer quarterback. Prevailing wisdom is that a true freshman quarterback cannot compete in the SEC. What gives us confidence that Jared Curtis and Vanderbilt can buck that trend? Obviously, we are benefiting from saving $6 million by moving this direction, but no coach can afford a losing season in this current landscape. So it would seem Clark Lee and team are confident with their quarterback room. Do you think this speaks more to confidence in Curtis or the floor they have with Blaze, or both? I think this whole question is wrong. I think you're viewing things, and I don't mean this bad, like it's not the worst at it. First off, if Blaze Berlowitz is the starter, I'm really concerned. Like, really concerned. Nothing against Blaze Berlowitz. I think you're viewing this through too narrow of a lens in some ways. Jared Curtis is a guy with an uber high ceiling that has NFL future dreams with his arm and the ability to start as a true freshman. Vanderbilt isn't just saving a little bit of money. They're saving a ton of money that they can put into the rest of their program. And Vanderbilt, compared to other SEC programs like LSU or Texas, is so far behind in funds. I don't think it's like confidence that Clark Lee and the staff have that Jared Curtis is just going to come in and tear up the SEC. I don't think it's that simple, but we're playing chess, not checkers here. And the potential Jared Curtis has to retain him on a more team-friendly deal, I think it's somewhere in between what you're asking here. Vanderbilt, first off, was never going to get a guy like Sam Leavitt. They were never going to get a guy that was one of these extremely top-tier quarterbacks. Jared Curtis has the potential to be that even as a true freshman. You saw it with Bear Bachmeier for BYU last season. But I think it's like that question is just flawed a little bit in and of itself. Like, I think George McIntyre has just not developed physically how Tennessee fans had hoped. And Tennessee's working with a different set of funds, and they're still swinging and missing on these top quarterback recruits. I think Vanderbilt's very lucky to have the quarterback position secured next season, whether that's Jared Curtis, who I fully expect to start, or Blaze Berlowitz. I don't know. That's a nuanced question. What do you have, Trevor?
I lean with you. This idea that freshman SEC quarterbacks don't fare well, I understand where he's coming from, because like there have been a lot that haven't fared well. But like, correct me if I'm wrong, Nico, whenever they went to the playoff, was a freshman. Redshirt freshman. I forget what Marcel Reed was. He was some type of freshman. Now going outside of the SEC, I shouldn't be blanking on his name, but like I said, guys, I'm chopped, washed, and cooked. In the Big Ten, Ohio State freshman quarterback. I wouldn't say it's a foregone conclusion that you can't try out a freshman quarterback. But whenever you have somebody of Jared Curtis's caliber, I think you'd be dumb not to, because those in-game reps matter. And I also kind of want to push back on the idea that nobody can afford a losing season.
Yeah.
I totally understand where you're coming from, and that in this current landscape, like if you have a losing season, like you're immediately on the hot seat. I know that's the norm, but I don't think it should be. If Clark Lee and this Vanderbilt team go 4-8, 5-7, and you're calling for the dismantling of the staff and the team,
You're an idiot.
I was going to be much more polite, but I'll side with Will. I think you're dumb as hell. I think for all of the good things the portal has done for Vanderbilt, one thing I think it's really, really had a negative impact in terms of the college landscape is having this long view. And I think I agree with your analogy of we've shifted more towards, as college football fans and programs, is we want to see our teams play checkers and not chess. You don't want to see your teams play the long game. And I think in order for Vanderbilt to play the long game and play it well, let's just buy Vanderbilt's not going to go 10-2. They're not going to go 9-3 this year. But if they go, let's say 5-7, let's say 6-6, let's say 7-5, I'll take that.
Yeah,
with
there's
a with a 5-star plus freshman quarterback, I'll take that all day long.
Yeah, there was a post that I saw from Message Board Geniuses, and it was a Mississippi State fan. And they posed the question, we're not going to compete year in, year out for a national championship or at that top level with teams like Texas, LSU, all these teams bringing in incredible, Texas Tech bringing in incredible transfer portal classes, Indiana. Why don't we save all of the NIL funds and then every 3 to 4 years bring in just a dominant team? And in some ways, that's like an extreme version.
Yeah.
But in some ways, what he's saying is hitting, or what that user was saying is hitting on some truth, is you've got to start viewing things. And I know it's on 1-year contracts, but you've got to start viewing things if you're not one of the top 15 teams in the country in NIL funds. You've got to start viewing things through more of a chess lens than a checkers lens. If Vanderbilt tried to get a proven Jared Curtis, they're never getting a proven Jared Curtis. He's never coming in. A guy like Jared Curtis has potential to be the #1 draft pick in the NFL draft.
Mhm.
I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but his physical capabilities, 6'4", over 200 pounds as an 18-year-old, he is in the cannon of an arm he has, and the mobility. He has the possibility of developing into the #1 overall prospect in the country.
Mhm.
Vanderbilt is never, ever getting that guy through the transfer portal. The only way they're going to get that type of player is if they bring him in as a freshman on a relatively friendly deal compared to the transfer portal quarterbacks, and he decides to stay with the program knowing an NFL future is in his sights and his comfortability within that offense. It's the only way Vanderbilt gets a player of the caliber at the quarterback position of Jared Curtis.
Mhm.
So you have to view things. It's not that this staff is just like, yeah, Jared Curtis is going to go out and we're going to go 10-2 again. And just like you can't afford a losing season at Vanderbilt. And I'll extend it further. I said idiots. If you're a person that if Vanderbilt goes 4-8 or 5-7 and it's talking about Clark Lee being on the hot seat, you don't know football.
No.
And you are truly like, just unsubscribe. Like if you are going to be calling for the firing of Clark Lee, like you are truly one of the dumbest human beings on the planet. So if Vanderbilt goes 4-8 next year, there will not be one peep from me or Trevor. Well, I can't speak for Trevor. But
No, you won't have a peep from me
about getting rid of Clark Lee or dismantling the staff. Now, if they have back-to-back 4-8 years,
Then we'll
can
have a
having
dialogue.
Discussion. But it's going to take a lot.
Yeah.
I've seen Clark Lee do it.
Yeah.
I've seen Clark Lee create a winning football team that won at a rate that has literally never been seen in the history of Vanderbilt football. Vanderbilt had never won double-digit games. Vanderbilt doesn't have the same funds and resources of every other team in the SEC. They just don't. Now, it's not bottom of the conference, but Vanderbilt doesn't. So they're not going to year in, year out be a college football playoff contender. That's not going to happen. But they can put together a roster by playing chess that potentially can be. This 2024 roster didn't entirely come together through transfer portal additions. Those transfer portal additions were strategically brought in, and the 2024 season was a precursor for the success we saw in 2025 with adding in bits and pieces from an already established roster. So that's what Vanderbilt is looking to do, establish a core, and then once you have a core established, they graduated a lot of talent this season, this offseason. Once you get a core established of guys, then maybe next year or the year after, Vanderbilt can fill in those gaps and then have a team competing at the top level of the SEC.
Yep.
That's what I'm feeling. So that question, it's not a bad question or it's not a dumb question, but like it's misguided in how Vanderbilt's going to operate as a football program.
Yeah, and I've said this for a long time. I said this whenever I was in elementary school, middle school, high school, even now. If Vanderbilt year in and year out could go, let's say they go 5-7, then they go 7-5, 7-5, 6-6, 8-4, 9-3, 6-6, 7-5, 9-3. If you can compile consistency like that, I know Vanderbilt got so close to the playoff, but like, what more? After all that we have been through, and our dads and our grandfathers and everybody since this football program was formed, how could you want anything more than that, guy? Like, we were literally. It was not that. It was 24 months ago. I was on my hands and knees begging God I'll do whatever you want me to do for a 6-6 football team.
It felt like
know what I mean?
It felt after that 2023 season like it was a real possibility Vanderbilt would never make a bowl game again.
Yeah.
Like it felt that way, and that wasn't me being pessimistic. It felt like I don't know how Vanderbilt's gonna ever compete.
Yeah.
And look what has happened over the last 2 seasons. So let's not be other fan bases, and let's understand the context of where Vanderbilt has come from and appreciate what has happened. The fact we're even having this discussion, like you can't afford a losing season, like that's crazy.
That's insane to me.
Like most programs cannot, or a good amount of programs cannot.
And
Vanderbilt's
even
not one
with
of
those programs, I disagree. Like, let's look at Steve Sarkisian. If Steve Sarkisian, that they're a bad example because of the amount of money they spend in the portal. Let's look at, I don't know, Georgia. Let's say Georgia next year goes 7-5. Why would you fire Kirby Smart?
I mean, don't make the Penn State mistake. I mean,
don't.
It just a guy has a disappointing season in James Franklin. You get rid of him, then you have a worse coach replace him, and he steals all your players over at another Power 4 program. I think that in the new era, like it's the jobs are so much more even in some ways.
Or Florida, don't fire Dan Mullen and then go hire Sunbelt Billy.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, Florida
Great
fans are like,
example.
damn, I would kill to have Dan Mullen back.
And it's another, like, I'm hearing a lot of stuff about Josh Heupel.
It's crazy to me, and I hate Josh Heupel.
And it's something that it's like Josh Heupel is going to make your program better. And with his offense, the reason most programs don't run an offense like Josh Heupel's at that crazy up-tempo speed is you're never going to win a national championship with Josh Heupel as your coach running that offense. Never, ever. He will, unless he changes his offensive philosophy, you will never win a championship with Josh Heupel's offense. But the reason Tennessee hired him was they were in the depths of hell.
Yeah.
And they needed a guy with a proven track record of winning that could come in and turn this program around. And now all of a sudden, Tennessee fans, after an 8-4 season, are like, we got to get rid of this guy. Well, they were pretty thrilled with a Butch Jones team that was on the verge of going to the Sugar Bowl and possibly being 9-3.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden they're ready to fire Josh Heupel after making the CFP in 2024. I think there's a reactionary nature to college football fans that's always been there that you just got to pump the brakes and say, are we, and not in the way that the condescending national college basketball sports media was talking about Vanderbilt basketball and talking about Jerry Stackhouse and saying, who are they going to get that's better? I'm like, I guarantee they can get fucking somebody better than going 9-23.
Yeah.
Like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Vanderbilt can get anyone. You could have me coach the Vanderbilt basketball team. I bet we could win 9 basketball games. Like, that's dumb. But when you're having a team that has decent success, like, don't throw that away.
Yeah.
So Clark Lee has an unbelievable leash and should have an unbelievable leash for Vanderbilt fans. I mean,
I totally agree.
This program has to have 3 really bad years of football for me even to begin putting Clark Lee on that hot seat.
I think Vanderbilt has to go 3 years of going, like, let's say 4-8, 3-9, 2-10.
Yep, exactly. For me to begin.
And after that second season, I'll be like, we need to have a dialogue.
Now he's on the warm seat.
In a year 3, I'd be like, it's time for a regime change.
Now he's on the warm seat, and then in year 3, if it happens again, now he's on the hot seat. If you got rid of him that offseason, I wouldn't be mad. But he has maybe one more year to prove it, and in that year 4, you fire him halfway through the season.
Clark Lee should be on the coldest seat in the nation.
Yes, he should. Him and Signetti should be on the coldest seats in him, Mario Cristobal, and Signetti should be on the coldest seats imaginable.
Yeah, agreed.
We have a few more questions. Unabridged says, will a Vanderbilt basketball team ever lose again?
Miller's hoping they don't because he'd get a 10-minute segment on the pod. I'll go ahead and say this. I don't think this team loses at home this year.
If they get past the Florida game, if Vanderbilt men's basketball gets past the Florida game, I will agree with you. That Florida matchup to me is scary. Mm-hmm. Just because of
the physicality.
The physicality, the size. It's everything that we went into the season saying Vanderbilt would potentially struggle with. Now you're going to really face it. Not slightly. You're going to face the best offensive rebounding team in the country and one of the top 15 teams in the country with size.
Yeah.
Next up, way too early predictions for Vanderbilt football next year. That is way too early. Number 1, total wins.
6.
I was going to say 5 or 6. I got to see how the rest of this roster shapes out and see how the rest of the SEC shapes out. But I'm going to say 5 or 6. Put the over-under at 5.5.
Yeah.
Jared Curtis pass yards / touchdowns. I'm going to put the over-under around 2,300 pass yards for Jared Curtis. I think if he is the starter, and I'm assuming he's going to be, this is going to be a much more run-heavy offense than we saw with Seti returning and MK Young returning. Around 2,300 to 2,400. This is the over-under for me. And then touchdowns, maybe 15.5. Somewhere in there.
I agree with both those.
Number 3, offensive / defensive MVPs.
Offensive, Cedric Alexander. Defensive, Dante Carter.
Yeah, offensive, I'm also going to go Seti. You could say Junior Sherrill. I just don't know how the offense is going to look underneath Curtis.
It's so early.
But I'm going to say Seti. And then on defense, I'm actually going to say CJ Hurd, especially with Ricardo Jones and CJ Hurd can fully play that towards the line of scrimmage, run control, run support safety.
I'll give you a sleeper for defensive MVP. Give me Jalen Stone.
I don't hate that.
I like his game.
Next up, thoughts on the portal commitment so far, and if you know anything else potentially happening in the portal / high school. We already kind of touched on all of that, to be honest. I'm pretty positive on what they've done at the portal so far. I hope to see 3 to 4 more commitments out of the portal at key positions.
At high school, keep an eye out on Keyshawn Bowman. Wink, wink.
And final question from the TDR Premium Message Board from GLH4VU. Who has it better than us? All right. Anything else you want to add on episode 349 before we close it out?
I love Mike James.
For myself, Will Byrum, and my Mike James loving co-host Trevor Hulan, this has been episode 349 of the Door Report, powered by 615 Collectibles.